Hi all, I've got a frugal video for you today. I saw this YouTube thing from Money Talks, and it was like things that boomers did to save money that no one really does anymore, and some of the reasons why. So anyway, let's go through that and see what you think. A lot of you are boomers like me, so you'll understand what we did and how and why we did it. And those that are younger, it's like, well, we can't do it that way anymore. So here we go. The first one, and we've talked about this many a time, is cook at home more often. When I was a kid, we would maybe go out and eat 2 or 3 times a year, maybe, if even that. And then when I had kids, it was maybe once every couple weeks to once a month. We didn't eat out very much either, that generation. But now everybody eats out all the time, including me. I can't say I don't. I mostly cook dinner at home, but I eat lunch out a lot. My roommate came in for a second, left the door open, and I had to yell at Haku. He ran up to the door, but he didn't go out. Good boy. Don't want him running off like I had the trouble with Kit. Alrighty. One of the things they said was restaurants cost approximately 5 times more to eat in a restaurant than it does to cook at home. And that, I think, was an old statistic. I think it's worse than that now. I mean, you can't eat fast food for one person for less than $10-15, and that's fast food, unless you get something really cheap. Like, I still sometimes will go get those Jack in the Box tacos that they used to be 99 cents for 2. Now they're $1.50 for 2, or $1.99 for 2, I think it is. But still, couple tacos for $2, you can't beat that. But that's one of the few things you can get that's really cheap. Okay, number 2, buy quality items. It's hard to find quality items nowadays, but I think the dog next door is out, if you can hear him barking. I mean, you can buy cheap stuff for less money, but you have to turn around and buy it again and again and again. If you buy like higher quality stuff, then it's going to last you. Like, I've got a table, my table that someone gave me, it was their great-grandmother's. And it's still, I mean, it's got a few scratches here and there and a water stain here and there, but I mean, that thing's probably at least 75 or 100 years old. And it's still kicking. Let's see. Within this category is one of the things that if you want something to last, is with clothing, furniture, both, don't give in to trends like your couch. You know, if you get some flowery, crazy couch, you're going to get tired of it real quick. But if you get, like, say, a plain gray couch and you put flowery pillows on, then when you get tired of that color scheme, you can switch it out to polka dots or plain color or orange instead of pink or whatever. You know, just you get my drift. If you buy a neutral, sturdy, good piece, you can switch around the pillows and things and make it look, you know, your drapes or whatever, and make it look totally different with the same basic piece. Okay, this one's a little hard to do in this economy, is live below your means. When I was a kid, it was hard for us too, because we were really poor, so it was hard for us to live below our means. But for the most part, back in boomer days, people would buy a little small 800 square foot 2-bedroom starter home. They wouldn't go for the 4-bedroom 3-bath giant home right off the get-go. They'd buy something they could afford. But part of the problem with that nowadays is, like, back in the 60s, you could get a starter home for $32,000. My first house was $27,000, and I bought it in my son was born, so early 1970s. And this was in California. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, basic starter home for $27,000. And then 2 years later, we sold it for $45,000, and 6 months after that, it was worth $70,000. So. And if with the cost of living increases, that $32,000 house should cost like $182,000, but you cannot get a basic 3-bedroom house for $182,000. You just can't, unless it's in a really bad part of town and old and beat up and needs a lot of work. You can't get a house for under $400,000. So. Young people coming up, I don't know how they can even afford to get a house. I mean, but part of it's because houses are getting bigger. It's hard to find those small starter homes unless you get like a condo or something, because the average beginning starter home back in the 1950s was 850 square feet. Now it's more like 2,000 square feet. My house was built in 1980, and it's 1,400 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, but it's plenty big enough. I mean, you could fit a family of 4 in here. But even this small house is. I bought this house for $75,000 back about 27 years ago, and it slowly crept up in value to about $110,000, $120,000. Over like a 20-year period, and then in the last 5 years or so, it's gone from 120 to almost 300,000. It's crazy how much housing prices have gone up here in Texas, and it's mainly because, no offense, California people, California people sell out their expensive houses, come out here, and they can pay cash, and so they're jacking up. The prices are going up because the California people think it's a bargain, so they'll, if you tell them it's $400,000 for 2,000 square foot house, they think, wow, that's really cheap, and they'll just shell it out no problem. So it's jack the prices. Okay, this one is interesting, is limit credit card usage. We've talked about that before, try and pay cash as much as you can. But when I was growing up, there really weren't credit cards. And even when I was raising my kids, there were credit cards, but they weren't as readily acceptable as they are now. Let's see, when was it? I've wrote it down somewhere, I thought. In 1993 was the first fast food restaurant accepted credit cards. So it's only been the last, 30 years that multiple places accept credit cards. And, you can buy whatever you want online and all that kind of stuff with credit cards. I got myself in credit card trouble when I was a single parent living in California, making $650 an hour, because I really couldn't afford to live on that. So I ran up $10,000 in credit card debt, which making $650 an hour is a lot. So I worked really hard to pay it off, and my kids knew they didn't get the Nikes. They got the cheap knockoff brand of shoes and so on. We were poor, we had to be really tight. But I paid off that $10,000, and it went years before I got another credit card. And now I have one credit card, and it's tied to my checking account, and it pays off automatically every month. And if there isn't enough money in my checking account, I'll take money out of savings or whatever, 401k, whatever I have to do to not. I've had this credit card maybe 8, 9 years, 10 years at the most, and I've never ever once paid any interest on it. I pay it off 100% every time. And then it's getting harder and harder to do because things are costing more and more, and I pretty much buy everything with it so that I can get the cash back. And then I let that build up, and then I'll use that to do something special with it, like first time I used the cashback money, went on a cruise with my kids, and the second time I bought my iPad. It's getting back up there. It's like around $350 or so, so it's building back up where I'll be able to do something with it pretty soon. So anyway, if you can pay cash, do pay cash. Some people I know, when they had trouble with credit cards, they would freeze them in a block of ice so that by the time you unthawed it, you might have thought twice about buying it. I mean, if you, so do I have that later? Oh, no, that's later. We'll talk about, I was going to talk about something that I've got it later in my list of things to talk about. Then the next one is impulse purchases, like buying Starbucks every day, or you're surfing around online and this ad comes up and you're like, ooh, I want to try that. And they said the average person, I don't know if it's person or family, spends $300 a month on impulse purchases. That's crazy. I know I don't do that. I occasionally buy impulse stuff, but I mean, the little stuff like Starbucks and all that, it saves some, but where you really need to watch it is on the big things like your housing costs, your food costs, your vehicles, all this, those kinds of things are where it makes the biggest difference. But those little things, if you can eliminate, start drinking coffee at home. I mean, when I was growing up, there were coffee shops, but they were more like a, eat at it kind of coffee shop, like a diner. It wasn't until, I think it was 1990 something that Starbucks started and coffee got to be a real thing, And I mean, people they drank coffee, but they brewed at home and just mostly drank black coffee, not all these foo-foo fancy coffee drinks. Let's see. Maintain your vehicles properly. I can't imagine most people not doing that, but maybe it's a thing now. I don't know. I don't know why it's on the list. I mean, you got to get your oil changed, and I am bad, but I have never ever changed out shocks on a car. I know that's probably something you ought to do, but it's not something I do. But I do get my oil changed and all that kind of thing. But cars built back in, say, the 70s, you could get a car for $5,000. And if you extrapolate out the cost of living increase, that, say, $5,000 car should be around $14,000. But the average cost of a car now is $40,000. I'm never going to be able to buy a new car ever again. I mean, my plan was, when this one wears out, is to buy one more car that I figured would last the rest of my life, because I don't put a lot of miles on it. But I don't know. I'm probably not going to be able to buy a new enough car to make that happen. But that's one thing about the newer cars. The cars that were built back in the 60s, 70s were 100,000 miles was about, the most they would last. And now cars last 200,000 and 300,000. So you do get more longevity out of your cars, even though you're paying a lot more. I'm watching the boy walk by. Tomorrow is Easter. Today's Saturday. No, today's Friday. 2 days is Easter. Today's Friday. We're having an Easter Good Friday service that I'm going to in a couple hours. But I was digging around, and I got a box of stuff from the people that I got the dog from, and in it I found it's a baby chick outfit for Haku. So I will try and get him to let me put it on him for Easter, and I'll show you a video of him in his baby chick outfit, but I'm not going to make him leave it on, but I just thought it would be fun to put it on. So watch for that in my shorts. I'll probably have a short of him in his Easter outfit. Okay, last but not least. Oh, that was the impulse thing. I jumped ahead on that one. I kind of combined the, don't buy coffee and stuff like that with the impulse buying part. Let's see, what else does it say on here that I didn't say? Oh yeah, part of why we didn't do a lot of impulse buying was because we weren't bombarded. There wasn't as fancy a marketing out there. We weren't online to be bombarded with ads and temptations and things like they are now. I mean, it's in your face all the time. And even with clothes, I mean, there were like, basically, new clothes would come out in the 4 seasons, but that would be it. Now it's like, every time you turn around, every time you go to the store, there's some new clothes to tempt you, or new makeup styles and whatever. I mean, my mom wore lipstick and maybe mascara, and that was about it. And nowadays, there's like 50 billion kinds of makeup and creams and potions and lotions, and I've got 2 baskets full of eyeshadows myself, so it's just, there's so much more things to spend your money on that it's hard to resist some of the impulse spending. And I'm prone to it too. Temu is a trap. Don't start Temu if you don't want to be trapped, because they send you things continually about, oh, here's 90% off for this item, and they just keep sucking you in. But nowadays, didn't used to be like this in the beginning, but now you have to spend $20 for them to ship it to you. So even though they're giving you this item at 90%, you're like, well, I really want that item, but now I have to buy these other 5 items to get to that $20. So it's insidious, and I can see why young people have trouble resisting, and why it's $300 a month that people spend on impulse buying. Alrighty, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this. Us boomers, we remember the days when all this stuff wasn't such a temptation and wasn't available, and things were, a loaf of bread was 25 cents. I used to, when I was in high school, we lived right above in this apartment, and we could look out and see these 3 gas stations on the other 3 corners of where the apartment building was. And they'd have these gas wars, and the price would get down to like 19 cents a gallon, 25 cents a gallon. That's long gone. I'm mad because I didn't fill up my tank before spring break, because before spring break it was like $2.79, something like that. And the last 2 weeks, because there's spring breaks, before and after, and not everybody has them at the same time. I don't know if that's why it's so high because of spring break, or it's just high because it's high, but right now it's hovering around $3.25. So if I would have got it 2 weeks ago, I'd have saved 50 cents a gallon, because gas will last me 2 or 3 weeks. So now I'm getting low, and I'm going to have to suck it up and buy the expensive gas. But I'm trying to wait it out and hope it goes down, but I'm not being successful. I'm hoping maybe after Easter, because people go, do traveling up through Easter. So I'm hoping maybe I'll go back down, but probably not. Alrighty, if you haven't subscribed, I'm Pat. I've got 2 kids, 4 grandkids, all of them grown. I do unboxing videos. I do stuff like this I do fun facts sometimes. I'll do cooking videos. I do Mass Mondays, where I've got this calendar with a bunch of stupid puns that I'll show you the pages from my calendar with stupid puns. If any of this sounds fun, please subscribe. Love to have you. Last time I looked, I was 17 away from 900 subscribers, and when I hit 900, I will have a big giveaway. I've got a big old, as I get stuff and can't use it or don't want it, or I'll specifically buy it for the giveaways or whatever, I've got this whole big basket of stuff that I keep for various and sundry giveaways. I don't do them as often as I used to, because it's like $25-30 to send a box to anywhere now, and I'm poor. I can't afford that too often. So anyway, speaking of impulse buying, I have a Stitch Fix sitting next to me that I will film that video soon, and watch for it. It'll be up the next day or two. Probably tomorrow, probably Saturday, I'll put it up. So here's your Frugal Friday video. Hope you enjoyed it. Love y'all. Bye-bye.